We continue on Talk Radio 910, WLTP, and my guest is Mark Edick, who has written a book called Fear. Feel it, face it, and grow. And this is just being released this month in March, so it's brand new, so you'll be the first on your block to have that. Let me ask you, what, sometimes we get academic books, and there's nothing wrong with that. This is the account of your journey, really. So this is not necessarily just a step back third person. This is, you're well informed about this topic yourself.
Well, yeah, I consider myself pretty well learned. I lived it, so this isn't something that I read about somewhere and now I'm trying to relate it in that manner. I lived in fear and ran from it in the method of using alcohol and drugs to mask it, cover it up, escape from it, whatever. And now I'm in recovery a little over 10 years, and I've learned a lot of things about facing my fear and dealing with it now.
When you look back, what do you think about it? Because some people might look back and go, gosh, I was being so stupid. But other people may say, well, yeah, but in the situation you're in, it didn't feel that way at the time, and there's much more. Some people try and simplify, what was going on when they look back because they don't know all the intimate details which you take people through in the book. So now that you look back, what do you see? Well, obviously we want to talk more about what's going on in the 12-step thing, but what is your general thought now when you look back over your life and when you were going through that?
Well, I see that when it's happening, the fear is very real. I don't consider any of it irrational at the moment. Although in retrospect, I tend to see it as, geez, it was kind of silly to be afraid of that, now. But I'm a different person now than I was then. So, when we're in the moment of the fear, that's when we need to be able to realize, is this something that I really need to run away from, or is this something that I need to confront, whether I'm afraid of it or not?
Describe the different fear, because obviously if a big dog with big teeth breaks off of a chain and is coming after you because you're in the wrong spot or you're out, in a park somewhere and a bear is coming at you, all right, there's no standing around or reasoning going, well, I think maybe I can fit. No, that's just compare that to fear that now you know better, and now that you're in a different place and you can say, wait a minute, let's face that fear, because even though at the time it was just as real, now you understand. So compare that, because some people who've never been through this may not understand what the fear feels like.
Yeah, with the dog or a bear coming at me, I think that's time to take flight. That I think it's in today's society we don't have that much of that kind of fear in our life. It's not like back in the old days when being chased by a bear was a lot more common. What we have today are more subtle fears where it can creep up on me, and if I learn to notice the physical manifestations of it, whether it's my pulse going up or sweaty palms or those kinds of, my blood pressure, I can feel my blood pressure, in my ears or whatever. That's the time to stop and try and ask myself, is this something that I need to run away from, or not necessarily physically run away from, but hide from, get away from? Do I need to just get out of this situation, or is it something that I really want to do? If it's something I really want to do, then I need to go ahead and feel that fear, but know that I need to do the next right thing to move through this anyway.
What led you to put this into book form? There's many people in recovery, lots of great success stories, and some take a little longer than others. When people say the 12-step program, that's not necessarily 12 days, 12 weeks, 12 months, but what led you to put it down on, it's one thing to talk in a meeting and share with everybody. You're putting this out there for the world to see.
Well, one of the things that I've learned being in recovery is that fear is one of the biggest things that caused me to drink and drug and run away from life, run away from the world, try and just hide from it. And it seemed that the more I tried to hide from fear or get away from it or whatever it was I was trying to do at the time, the more I fed it. And in the beginning, it would take something bigger to cause anxiety, and then later on, as my drinking and drugging escalated, and I spent more time feeding this beast that I call fear, the smaller things started creating issues in my life, and pretty soon I was afraid to leave the house, for crying out loud. I would go to work, I would go to the grocery store, I would go to the liquor store. I would get my necessities for existence, not for living, but for existence, and that was about it. And I've found that that's a big deal with a lot of people in recovery, and I wanted to address that. And my first book, Becoming Normal, when I wrote that, I had a professor at Lansing Community College help me with the editing on the first draft, and she kept telling me, you need to write this to a bigger audience. You need to write this to a bigger audience. And when I sold that book to Central Recovery Press, my editor, the first thing out of his mouth was, we need to rewrite this to a bigger audience. More people can benefit than just people in recovery. And so when I wrote Fear, I stopped to take that into consideration. Everybody has issues with fear. It's not, it's part of the process of life. We all have to deal with it. Some deal with it better than others, and I didn't used to be able to deal with it hardly at all. And through getting into recovery and learning, going through the processes I've gone through, I've learned to deal with my fear rather well.
So you think, because some other people may say, okay, I understand, Mark's recovering and it's nice, and that was how, but this is not just for somebody in recovery. I think that's what you're trying to say, that everyone faces fear and everyone has a better way, because yours was drugs and alcohol. Someone else might be food. Someone else's might simply be hiding in the house and not leaving the house, whether they ever drink a drop of alcohol or take a drug at all. That everyone's reacting differently. That just happened to be your way of hiding. Other people just have different ways of hiding. So your way, what this book is more important about is how everybody can face their fear.
Yeah, that's, the way that I dealt with my fear in the past, which was drinking and drugging, is maybe different. Some people might just not want to take a risk. Maybe they stick themselves in a career that they're not crazy about because they're afraid to reach beyond their grasp for that job that they'd really like to have. It doesn't matter whether you're hiding in alcohol and drugs or whether you're hiding in just denying yourself your full potential in life. If either way, you're not living up to your full potential.
If people are interested in picking this book up and reading about your story and how you hid and then you were able to recover and get back out and face your fears, regardless of how people are dealing with their fears, if it's not in the proper way, where do people pick this up so they can get some help as well?
The book is available at wherever you can buy books, or you can pick it up directly from my publisher at centralrecoverypress.com.
Can people get to you there as well? And some people may want to correspond by email, or you have a blog, or is there a website dedicated just to this book, or just go to the Central Recovery Press site?
Yeah, if you go to Central Recovery Press, they have a link to blogs, and you should be able to catch my blog there. I think it's centralrecoverypress.com/fear.
All right. Thank you very much, Mark. We appreciate your time. Appreciate you bearing it all for everyone. It's an important thing. So thank you very much. We appreciate your time. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right. The news continues on Talk Radio 910.